Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Mitch. Good Thursday morning to you all. Hope you guys are doing okay out there this morning, having yourselves a great start to your day and a great work week. Speaking of the week, it's been very active weather-wise. We had the severe weather outbreak Tuesday, and then it was even worse yesterday. But thankfully, I think today, even though we have a risk for severe weather over the next several hours into the afternoon hours, it's not going to be even comparable to the last 2 days, especially yesterday. But in this video, we're going to break down the weather for today first, and then we're going to give you the big update on the severe, big time Arctic outbreak that could potentially be rocking across areas of the lower 48 and really possibly potential. You can start to throw that out the window now. This is now looking likely, even for areas into the southeast, the eastern U.S., and we're going to gradually, when I tell you gradually, very slowly, like snail speed, begin to shift not away from the cold air necessarily, but we'll begin to slowly talk about that storm signal that is starting to grow around Christmas time, maybe the day before, maybe a couple days after, heck, maybe right on Christmas. But we're going to slowly begin to talk about that because I know a lot of people are wondering, they're looking at their weather apps like, Mitch, I keep seeing a snowflake around Christmas. Is it going to snow or not? And we don't have that answer. We're not going to have that answer for a while, I can go on and tell you. But we're going to talk about that. But in the beginning of the video, we're going to focus in on today because there's a pretty significant winter storm cranking up for the Northeast. And areas of the Midwest and northern Midwest have been getting slammed with heavy snow. So we're going to give you an update on that. And we're going to talk about the severe weather that's possible over the next several hours. But if you guys have not subscribed, certainly consider doing that. Exciting times ahead if you're a winter weather fan, I'm telling you. So not only hit the subscribe button, but if you got Twitter, if you got Facebook, hit me up there. I'm telling you guys, it's a great way to follow along, especially on Twitter. When things get popping, especially with winter weather, I am posting very frequently. And obviously I can't make a video every hour, right? So it's a great way to follow along. So definitely do that if you got a Twitter. I know more people have Facebook over Twitter, but same deal. Hit me up there, guys. But if you guys got anything that I can pray about, pray over, please put it in the comments below. It gives me an opportunity to pray over it, and it gives others an opportunity to do so too. So let's get rolling. Here's our system. You got a fire hose of moisture blasting through the UP of Michigan, northern Wisconsin, also areas of northern Michigan in general. A lot of heavy precipitation. We'll take a look at that. And you got wraparound moisture, still blizzard conditions, a lot of blowing snow in areas of the Dakotas, and just still snow falling. And then you got moisture that's going through the Carolinas, ice in areas of the mid-Atlantic, and then winter weather beginning to usher into Pennsylvania. Will continue to do so, will do so into New York State, into the interior areas of the Northeast, where certain areas of the Northeast, guys, could see 2 feet of snow, especially the higher elevations. It's going to be really an elevation-dependent storm. Literally 500 feet can make a big difference, and there's some hills in certain areas, even outside the higher elevations of the Northeast, but we'll talk about that. But there is going to be a risk for severe weather. There's a risk of severe weather right now. But it's not going to be, like I said, even comparable to yesterday. But as far as watches and warnings, guys, we'll look right here. You still got this it's been so long lasting. You got blizzard warnings still. Blizzard warnings even up for a few counties in northeast Minnesota, where, you guys are going to continue to pick up several inches of snow, already feet of snow up there. And then winter storm warnings for all these pink counties. But look at all these winter storm warnings up for the Northeast. Winter storm watches up for the entire state of New Hampshire and about half of Maine. Ice storm warnings up. A lot going on this morning. I think there's already been some reports of a 1/4 inch of ice in certain areas. And those ice storm warning areas. And then you got the tornado watch, which is still ongoing in areas of Georgia and Florida. So there is a slight risk for severe storms all the way up to Charleston, South Carolina today. There could be an area of storms that fires up kind of along the cold front. That could be severe, but guys, there's not going to be a tornado outbreak today. Yesterday was. And we're going to probably continue to see footage and videos of some nasty damage that happened yesterday afternoon and evening as the sun comes up today. Hopefully everybody's okay, but really just an event in a really bad way that overachieves. And it had some longevity to it too, right? It was like a 2.5-day event. It's still ongoing. It's a 3-day event. And so hoping you guys are okay out there this morning. But for the Southeast, let's break down that first. Let's make sure we're talking clearly first, actually. But last night was a struggle. I re-listened to some parts of the video, and I was like, dang, maybe I shouldn't even have made the video. It's just not clear. But some videos are going to be like that, especially, I'm a busy guy, really, really busy guy. And sometimes it's just going to be a sloppy delivery. And I'm not a naturally good speaker either. So that's saying a lot considering the fact that, I talk weather on YouTube. But anyways, a lot of moisture out there this morning. It's raining very heavily at my house right now here in Columbia, South Carolina. But we watch this line of storms that'll move through areas of Florida. We'll see how much of a punch it packs here. Tampa Bay, this will move through a couple hours after lunchtime. Just be careful. Maybe there will be a risk of a tornado over the next several hours. In the Big Bend areas of Florida, you got a 5% risk to see a tornado. And here's this line of storms I was mentioning. Could get going just east of Columbia and Charlotte. But I don't think there's going to be much of a tornado risk with this. Just some gusty winds and maybe some heavy rain. But then this will move on out, and then that's it. The system is done, and then we watch for colder air to usher in. But that's not the colder air that I'm talking about as far as the pattern change. And I'll talk about that here in a second. What's going on in the Northeast today? A big blast of literal ice, sleet and freezing rain rocking through Pennsylvania this morning. Pittsburgh, you're just too warm. It's mainly rain. But State College, you're gonna be dealing with ice. You probably already are this morning. Probably a good 10th to 20th of an inch of ice. Let me know for any folks that live around that area how much ice you see this morning. But, as far as Scranton, Pennsylvania, for example, you're going to get blasted with some snow around midday today. Might start off as snow, a little bit of sleet, but then change to all snow. In northern New Jersey, your rain might change to snow. I don't expect a ton of snow in this area, but it could surprise. But like I said, there's not a lot of cold air to work with this system. So that's why you're not having a significant snowstorm from Washington, D.C. to Boston, one of those classic, just almost nor'eastern type events where you got a ton of cold air. But, not every nor'easter has cold air. But we'll stop this around 8 p.m. this evening. Snow just working its way about halfway through the state of New York. It hasn't quite made it to Mass or anything yet. But here it comes. We're getting into, this is literally about 1 a.m. in the morning tonight. It's still snowing in areas of Pennsylvania, those favored kind of areas that have cold air kind of trapped into these areas. And there's higher elevations where these hills are. Binghamton could definitely see a good bit of snow today, but really, the Adirondacks, all these higher elevations in New York State are going to get rocked. And even the hills of Western Mass, maybe even northwestern areas of Connecticut could get a lot of snow, maybe 6, 10, maybe 12 inches of snow, maybe a foot. But this will continue to move in. We'll get to about daybreak tomorrow morning. Snow just beginning to move in to areas of New Hampshire and Vermont. It's overspread about half the state of Vermont. And like I said, all rain for the big cities. But some of this snow is going to be very heavy. It's going to be very wet. It's not going to be a really dry snow unless you're way up here in the high country where basically the temperatures are much lower, which normally you get much drier snow. But, the valley areas could start out as snow but might switch to rain as this low pressure approaches and mixes a lot of warm air to the surface. But, a jackpot area that might be outside of the higher elevations of like New York State, Vermont, New Hampshire, could definitely be Western Mass. You guys are going to get slammed. And like I said, it's going to be an elevation-driven storm, meaning if you're sitting at about 500 feet, you might stay rain too long. But if you're about 1,500 feet up, it might just be a raging snowstorm. It's going to be one of those setups. But this continues. It's going to be a long storm as there's blocking up here in Greenland. So this really bogs down the low pressure, meaning it doesn't move in and scoot out very quickly. It just keeps throwing moisture back into these areas. So, just this starts sometime later this evening and continues all the way through most of the weekend. And look at all these snow showers rocking its way through here. And then you could have a lake effect snow event that gets cranked up in Lake Erie. We'll talk about that a little bit tonight. I don't want to leave everybody hanging, but guys, I'm starting to get comments like, what about this state? It seems like you always leave out this state. Guys, it's a lot. I make 20, 25-minute videos, and when there's so much going on in each region of the country, if I don't say your state, it's not personal. It's funny. I've been getting comments like that for like the last year and a half, 2 years, and people literally think I don't like their state. I hope they really don't think that. I hope it's more of a joke. I think it is, but it's wild how many comments I get. I can't get specific with each state. If I did, these videos, guys, would literally last probably 2 hours. So I do the best I can. I try to funnel in information for you guys, and it's not personal if I don't mention your state. That's why I show you these maps that show wide areas, right, of potential accumulations. But ice, listen, ice is going to be a big deal today. There's already been a lot of ice. Some of this is already what's fell in these regions. But really, the ice has trended higher for Pennsylvania, even into areas of far western New York State, southwest New York State. You know, a solid glaze, 15th of an inch of ice is certainly ice you can visibly see on the trees. But a quarter of an inch of ice widespread in these areas of west central areas of Pennsylvania. And then, you know, let me know if you're in the Washington, D.C. area, especially just north. If you're seeing the glaze of ice, I would definitely be interested to know. But ice storm criteria ice for a lot of area. Once you get over a quarter inch of ice, it really becomes a big deal. As far as snow in these areas, between now, this is just between now. Let's go all the way out through the duration of the event. But, you know, a good bit of snow. Binghamton, you know, maybe 12 inches of snow, maybe a foot of snow. Scranton, several inches of snow. And then these areas of Pennsylvania, and then we're going up to New York State, where a lot of snow. You see these wider areas? This is where over 20 inches of snow could fall. Valley areas, I know Albany, not sure how y'all pronounce that. Y'all correct me. I'm not afraid to be corrected or anything. I definitely don't take that personal. I'm not the best grammar person at all. Sometimes I look at these city names in the middle of the videos and I'm scared to pronounce it, even though they look very easy. My dude up here in New York State helped me on Binghamton. I was saying Binghamton. So I guess the ham is it's not, you know, it's not actually part of the city name. Is Binghamton. That's how it's pronounced. But one thing that's really interesting here is the Western Mass. I mean, look at all this snow showing up for this area. I mean, that's over 20 inches of snow. It's going to be a wet snow. It might be kind of, you know, I mentioned last night that this wouldn't be that big of a deal, but I should have worded my words a little bit different, if you will. But this is going to be a big deal for these areas. High impact snowstorm. This is really going to put the snowpack down, and I'll be interested to see who over and underachieves with this system. But here comes the precipitation. One thing I'm showing you this for is because I really think there's going to be a period, and I really think you're getting these jackpot regions in Western Mass because you're going to be really close to the heaviest precipitation. And when I tell you you're going to get some solid snow, and this is around the middle of the night tonight. I mean, let's look at this really quick. This is basically snowfall in 1 hour, if that makes any sense. So this is how much snow can you see in 1 hour in these little frames. So we're going through here in time, and look, we'll stop it right here. This is, well, no, let's actually go back here in time. We'll stop it right here. Look at these snowfall ratios and rates per hour. This is an inch or two per hour in these areas right here. Well north of New York City, here in these areas of Western Mass. Even, I mean, there might be a period in Northwest Connecticut that could get some big time snow falling ratio rates here out here. And listen, I mean, this snow is going to be coming down very hard, even as we're getting to tomorrow morning. Could be an inch or two per hour rates in these regions, even into northeast Pennsylvania. So it's going to be puking wet snow in these regions. So my folks up here in the north central U.S., let's take a look at the radar out of Gaylord right here, Michigan. This is some heavy precipitation. My guy up here in the UP of Michigan who watches faithfully every morning, let me know what you're seeing. But if you're not seeing much right now, this is a heavy band of precipitation. In fact, we just got a lightning bolt right here, well north of Grand Rapids. And listen, I mean, I'd be interested to know what's falling in actually Gaylord, Michigan. I really would. But this is a lot of heavy precipitation. And it's snowing like crazy also in like areas of Duluth too, where, you know, there's just a lot going on with this little surface low that just keeps spinning and this fire hose of moisture. And, you know, areas of Minneapolis, you're going to see a lot of snow today too. And there's a lot of cold air around. The snow repivots back into the Dakotas where blizzard conditions will continue to be amplified. And there's just a spin of moisture. We'll stop it right here. This is tonight. You got snow falling. This is this evening around dinner time. Snow falling in central and eastern areas of the Dakotas. You got snow showers as far south as Indiana. There's a lot going on, guys. There's a lot going on. This is an incredible system. And really what's coming behind it is even more incredible. Just wild stuff. Between now and the next 24 hours, you know, a lot of snow could fall. Even some ice, guys. Some ice could fall in these regions. We'll look into ice, you know. This is probably what's already fell. But some more ice accumulations are possible. And there could be a glaze of ice with this snow. But An additional foot on the northwest shoreline of Lake Superior. Duluth could see another foot of snow. A lot of snow falling in these areas of Wisconsin. Widespread 8 to 12 inches of snow possible. Minneapolis could pick up 5 to 8 inches of snow, certainly possible. The only area that has chill weather today is the south central U.S. Props to you guys. Nothing going on. Boring weather. Not even really worth even mentioning anything over, but nothing going on. Very quiet. Very, very quiet. You deserve it. You were dealt with some nasty weather a couple days ago. Temperatures will be weird today. You're going to have a moving, moist, and warm sector. It's very warm right now, for example, in my area of South Carolina, but it'll be colder by the time we get into this afternoon. Was a cold front approaching, but no real Arctic air. It's really cold up here in the Dakotas and in Nebraska, where it normally is cold this time of the year. But like I said, very marginal temperatures. It's actually above average temperatures with this winter storm moving through in the Northeast. And I know you're thinking, how are we going to have above average temperatures in a winter storm in the Northeast? Well, it's just that time of the year climate-wise where a little bit above average temperatures is still supportive for winter weather. But this is why I'm telling you it's going to be a very wet snow up here in the Northeast today. So let's go on and flip it and talk about this pattern change. Even though we're 16 minutes in and just now getting to it. 6 to 10 day temperature outlook. We already discussed this yesterday. We're not going to stay long on it. But for you folks who didn't watch last night, well below average temperatures predicted through the 20th through the 24th. The chances are 80 to 90% chance in this region. It's coming, guys. I mean, the Arctic hounds are coming. The Polar Express is going to come down and uppercut the entire central and eastern U.S. 8 to 14 day range. It shifts a little bit further east. Now, a lot of people are wondering, where's the moisture? Well, there is a chance. There's a chance for above average moisture into these areas right here. I don't have that pulled up. But I'm really thinking, guys, as I'm talking so fast and so much, my nose is starting to clog up again. But I'm really thinking that there is going to be a couple shots, one maybe associated with the cold front and another associated with once the Arctic air kind of oozes in, kind of settles in, there could be something that pops off. But quickly, we'll go over the teleconnections that are driving this. I know this bores a lot of people, but we need to understand what's going on. So we're starting this off. We'll go all the way to Monday morning. You got big time blocking north of Alaska, negative EPO. You got the Arctic air that's beginning to get dislodged from this negative NAO, which is blocking, which helps our storm systems really slow down off the eastern seaboard. You got these higher anomalies. Think of this is ridging over the western U.S. We call this a positive PNA. So we got ridging building into the western U.S., the southwestern U.S. This creates warmer than average temperatures in the west. This does not allow this cold air to dump west, so it begins to dump southeast. We continue to have the blocking up to Alaska. We continue to have the ridging into the west. We continue to have blocking up in Greenland, that negative NAO that people always chat about, that brings the classic winter storms to the eastern seaboard, even the southeast. This cold air gets dislodged from the Arctic, comes down. You see these blue areas? That's just a major cold front that's troughing. This is ridging. This drops down and just dislodges itself all over the eastern U.S. And by the time we get into the evening of the 22nd, cold air is ushering into the central and eastern U.S. And then troughing sets up, and then you just wait as the jet basically buckles south. And then you wait for the active southern jet to really get going, and then you just wait for moisture. But this is a classic look for some kind of winter weather mischief right around Christmas. Massive ridging into the western U.S., massive troughing into the eastern U.S. So listen, all indications point to this. So we look at the European. We're not going to stay too long on each on this, but here comes the evolution of the cold air on the latest European. We'll stop this around Wednesday morning, the 21st of next week. Negative 15, negative 20 degrees below zero. 20 degrees below zero up here into the Dakotas and Minnesota. This cold air begins to get dislodged into the central U.S. We'll stop it here. These are around high temperatures, around midday temperatures for the middle of the country. Well below zero into the plains. Only into the 20s into Dallas. Amarillo, only into the teens. Little Rock, only into the teens. Look how this cold front. The Euro is much more abrupt with this cold front. Meaning, you wake up in the morning and it's 40 degrees. Not too bad for December, right? And then by the time you're driving home, it's in the teens. It's that kind of gradient, if you will. We'll go all the way to Friday morning. This is Christmas Eve morning, the 23rd. Look how this cold air gets all the way to the southeast. It's into the teens and all the deep south, the single digits into Tennessee, Arkansas. Remember, don't get mad at me if I don't say your exact state. All the states are listed right here. You guys can see it plain as day. Not being rude or anything. You guys know that. But, I mean, look at this. This is cold air for everybody. And it just shoots down here, shoots into the southeast, and then we get into Christmas Eve morning. Look how cold it is. Not only for the southeast, but look at you folks in Florida. I mean, sub-freezing temperatures all the way down to Orlando. And this is just a massive dome of cold air for Christmas Eve. We get all the way to Christmas. It doesn't get quite out to Christmas. Goes out to Christmas Eve. And boy, I tell you, Santa is going to be riding the Polar Express down to the lower 48. And listen, we were trying to figure out the cold air at first, right? But the confidence is increasing that the cold air is going to happen. But now we're starting to figure out what's going to happen with a storm system. We'll quickly look at the GFS here. Look at the cold air on the GFS. We go all the way to Christmas Eve morning here. I mean, teens, sub-freezing temperatures. So the Euro and the GFS currently agree with each other that, I mean, this cold air is going to get in here a little bit quicker than maybe we thought. I mean, the front moves through potentially as early as maybe the 21st or 22nd all the way to the eastern seaboard. And it moves through even sooner for everybody in the middle of the country. But, you know, you stop it right here. This is the morning of the 22nd. You got 30 to 40 degrees below zero in the Dakotas. This tells you that a massive high pressure is dropping down Arctic air. And listen, the next thing you guys are wondering, where is the snow? Where is the winter weather? Well, let's take a look. The GFS from overnight shows what I'm talking about. You got two areas to watch, I think. Just watch, just a possibility. One is you see how these isobars are really tight. That means you got an Arctic air mass dropping down. Just think of it like this. I'll stop it around the evening of the 22nd. So about a week from today. Arctic air mass dropping down. You got energy associated with it, meaning you pretty much got snow. This would be a very dry snow blasting through Missouri, Illinois. I really think it's inevitable that with this Arctic air mass, you're going to squeeze out some snow in these areas of the country. How much, we don't know. But at the same time, you got an active jet setting up. Here comes a low pressure that just misses wide right. It doesn't matter because there's not a lot of cold air anyways in place. But we stop it for Friday morning, Christmas Eve, the 23rd, and low pressure redevelops right here well off the coast, but it doesn't connect. It doesn't close off, but you still have tons of snow falling from Chicago to New York City, down to Raleigh, down to Knoxville, Tennessee, to Nashville, Tennessee. Now, please don't look at this and tell everybody and your brother's cousin that it's going to snow 2 days before Christmas. It's one run, and I'm about to show you the differences between this run and the morning run. But this rolls through. We get this through, and and then you wait, and you're saying, oh, well, what about us folks down here in the deep south? Well, we don't know, guys. We don't. We get all the way to Christmas morning, and then all of a sudden, look at this. This misses Christmas by about 12 hours, but pops off this low pressure, and all of a sudden, you got 2018 January 3rd all over again, and pops off a low pressure snowstorm along the Carolinas and Georgia coastline. But you're going to see wild model runs like this all over the place over the next 5 to 6 to 7 days until we get some consensuses that where is this storm that we need to track? Where's the maybe two storms we need to track? We look at the European. Now, the European has not been in this time frame yet. It's been in the time frame of the cold air, but it has not been in the time frame of really Christmas. But the European likes the idea of a massive system, much more significant than the GFS, associated with this blast of Arctic air. Look at this rain changing the snow events as low pressure rides the Arctic boundary in these areas. At the same time, the Euro keeps liking a low pressure to pop off right here ahead of the Arctic boundary, but there's no cold air in place in the Carolinas and the Mid-Atlantic. There's enough cold air already oozing in to areas in the Northeast that, we're getting into the evening of the 22nd. Could be snow, but this is everywhere. I'm only showing you this because there is energy in the time frame of the Arctic air moving in, and then as it settles in, there's energy that could pop off. So another surface low pops off here as the Arctic air ushers in, and then check it off. Check it out. You stop it right here. This is the overnight hours of the 22nd into the 23rd. You got snow as far south as Augusta, Georgia, and then just snow from Chicago, the New York City. You got a low pressure popping off here. This is everywhere. It's everywhere. It's like a hybrid system, and man, it's incredible to see. But I really think we're going to have some wild model runs leading up to Christmas and just after Christmas. And yeah. Honestly, I'm speechless at the pattern in place just because I'm a winter weather fan. I'm very passionate about the weather. And I'm very excited to see how this unfolds. Do I want snow in my own backyard? Yes. Am I going to have to emotionally detach myself if it doesn't happen? Yes. It's going to be very hard. But listen, I'm telling you, there's a chance somewhere, kind of far south, could potentially connect the dots here. But we got a lot to figure out. Cold air rushes in for the morning of the 23rd. And then you still got to watch. You still got to watch after this. Does anything try to get going down here? We don't know because we're not in range. And anyways, it's too far out to really matter. But, I could tell you guys, this is an incredible air mass. You look at the latest GFS. And this is why I'm telling you. From the latest GFS, from the one overnight, it's different. Shows the Arctic air moving in. Nothing different about that. Sorry, guys. First cough right at the end of the video. You got flurries moving in the morning of the 23rd with the Arctic air mass. The Arctic air mass settles in. Man, this is some cold air. And then look, a little piece of energy tries to show up right here. Then you got moisture in the Gulf just kind of brewing, just waiting to come up. And then nothing happens for Christmas Eve. We get into Christmas morning, a little area of moisture kind of shoots through. And then around Christmas Day evening, you got something trying to connect here. Snow as far south as Jackson, Mississippi, and bang, the day after Christmas, just shy of magic, which would be snow on Christmas or Christmas Eve. I've always favored snow on Christmas Eve. Let me tell you my dream scenario, guys. Let's get a snowstorm right on Christmas Eve, rages all through the night, starts snowing about the morning of Christmas Eve, snows all day, snows all night, and then it lets up Christmas about midday, and you got about several inches of snow on the ground. That's always been my dream scenario, personally, since I was a kid. But anyways, this pops off a low pressure. There's still cold air in place, and it's very close to connecting to something big right in here. So we'll continue to watch this, guys. There's a lot to figure out. And as we get closer, we'll start to look at this. And I know this kind of is like, what am I looking at, Mitch? But this will be very important to figure out. When we look at the 06Z, you see how this little piece of energy digs. We need to watch where it digs. It needs to dig sooner, one. And then two, it needs to close off so we can have a big system for people who want winter weather. But there's no point talking about that until we have a signal that's reliable. Right now, the signal is at 10 to 11 days, and that's not reliable, guys. So that's all I got, guys. Thank y'all for tuning in. God bless all y'all, and have yourselves a great Thursday.